This is breaking news.
Our county executive and members of the Assembly and the Senate that are here. This is a great day for us here in Yonkers because it's another groundbreaking on a very interesting plot of property. And I was walking around before saying, wasn't there a comedian that had his family's diner on this spot? And I can't remember his name. It was it's a mad world and all. And I sat down and I looked over and I saw Sid Caesar Way. So Sid Caesar, right? Was that good? Yonkers resident, right? This was a plot of where his family business was. So, and we dedicated, Governor dedicated the street in his name a few years back. But as we have cleaned up and revitalized our city, and we've done a lot with the help of certainly our state government, which has helped us, along with some help from the federal government and local and private developers, where we've been able to clean up what was the old factory sites on the water's edge and build nice housing, right? Beautiful housing, so people could really enjoy the view of the Palisades, enjoy access to the Hudson River. And we wanted to make sure that while we were putting all this housing here, that when the tide goes up in that water, that all of the boats go up with it. And the only way to do that is to provide for affordable units, because we want to make sure that for the people who've lived here my whole life, I never had access. I was brought up in this neighborhood. I was never had access to the Hudson River, and now I do. But we wanted to make sure that they weren't priced out and forced out of the community. And we're not seeing that, because 22% of all of the 22,000 new units that have been okayed for Yonkers are affordable. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for the help from the governor, because without that support that we're getting from the governor and from our state delegation led by the Senate Majority Leader, these projects couldn't happen, because we frankly could not afford to make them happen. But with their help, we have been. And with the fact that we have the Metro North just down the road in walking distance, or the Beeline bus system, which is right here, all that will help for this to make even a better place for working families to want to live, work, and raise a family. So thank you to McQuestion, Arella, my good friend Joe. Joe and I have been friends our whole life. To our county executive, thank you, and our legislators that are here. To the New York State Homes and Community Renewal, especially the commissioner, thank you for your support. Of course, our delegation, which led by Senate Majority Leader and our great Governor Hochul, for what you've done, because you have helped inspire this city, you've helped move this city in a great direction. You've helped make this city, really, when people talk about a city that's revitalized and a city that is just moving forward, a city that's a real story of success, one of the most diverse cities of its size in all of America. And we have showed we can make it work. And we hope that the rest of the country will follow our lead. And thank you, as I say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, we did promise a quick program, and it will be quick, even though it's kind of nice to hang out here right now and feel the warmth. I want to take the opportunity to introduce a gentleman who is one of the most prolific commercial real estate brokers in this region, particularly in Rockland County and in Westchester County, and someone whose political advice we're always well to take, because he's one of the smartest political advisors I have ever met, Mr. Paul Adler. Paul, would you come forward? Go for it. You made it.
Thank you, Joe. And Joe read that just as I wrote it. So I'm so delighted that you did that. What a great day. The sun is always shining in Yonkers. And when you look around and you see what this city has become, Joe was right on point. Mayor Mike Spano, his team, the council, the state legislators, and his administration have transformed this city back into the city of gracious living, which is what it has always been called. But you take a look at what's happened here. The most popular bird in Westchester and particularly in Yonkers is the crane. It is up everywhere, building this city up, doing what it needs to have happen here. This city for far too long was probably the greatest asset on the Hudson River, and when you look around, it has become accessible for all. And that's the hallmark of the Spano administration, from stem to stern, from the Hudson River all the way over to the Mount Vernon border, and northern Westchester, Yonkers, is really the place to be. And in fact, it is the only city in the state of New York growing in population and whose school district has just jumped ahead of everywhere else, doing great work, and that is really telling in terms of what's going to happen, how this city is going to continue to grow under Mike Spano's leadership. When you look at this corner, you have to wonder how amazing Rella Fogliano and Joe Apicella really are. They could look at a corner like this, and even the greatest real estate broker of all time, we could walk by this corner and you could say, well, what the hell could they do here? And Rella Fogliano and Joe Apicella have a vision. But a lot of developers have vision. But their vision is always tailored with dignity and acceptance and brings people together in such an important way. If you look at what they build, it's just not an affordable housing project. It's an affordable housing project that anyone would want to live in. It makes people understand that affordability and having some financial constraints is not to be looked down on. But Rella and Joe look rather to lift people up. And you do a wonderful job. And it is always an honor to be with both of you. So we're in the greatest county, don't tell anybody in Rockland, we're in the greatest county in the country. And if you look around, Mike Spano, Leader Cousins, I mean, just to think about the fact that the leader of the great upper chamber of the legislature, the Senate in the state of New York, right? Well, you know that, right? When you look around, and how fortunate are we to have the leader of the New York State Senate hail right here from Yonkers. That's extraordinary. And then George Latimer and Ken Jenkins, they got like this easy job. It's like the best county in the whole country. You know, sometimes they vie against that Orange County in California, like Beverly Hills is over there, not Yonkers. But they do that, so they're like just doing it with their eyes closed. That's how well they're doing it. But I have a real distinct honor and pleasure to introduce somebody who took over the leadership of this state when it was in crisis, who took over this state and managed to marshal the talent and the forces to bring New York back as the Empire State, someone who made it quite clear that her government would lead and that she wouldn't be swayed by what the snap polling had to say. And when this governor embarked on a housing program that some people said was too ambitious, some people said didn't work here, worked over there, not sure about it, what this governor did was opened up a national dialogue and has become the leading voice on housing in this country. It is an existential threat to this state. Without housing, the jobs that she's created, that her administration has created, will go nowhere in this state they'll go elsewhere where other people are building housing. And when this housing program may have hit some detours along the way, this governor, like my GPS getting me here today, recalculated. And it repositioned the governor. And through the force of the bully pulpit, this governor has taken the need for housing, market, affordable, luxury, alternative, supportive, you name the type of housing, she's been open to it. She has taken communities and brought them along and said, we will encourage you to do the right thing because people need to be able to live here. And the governor so poignantly speaks about how devastating it is for families to raise kids. The greatest asset we spend is raising kids, school taxes and property taxes and doing it, and then only to have your children move away from you. Because, not because they want to, but because they have to, they can't afford to live here. It's terrible. This governor has led on housing, she's led on the environment, she's led on transportation, led on health care, and has opened a channel of compassion and caring that makes her and distinguishes her as one of the great governors of the Empire State. Ladies and gentlemen, the 57th governor of the state of New York, the Honorable Kathy Hochul.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Paul, after that incredible introduction, I'm really glad your GPS got you to the right corner here. So thank you for the introduction. What I've been talking about since I became governor is what we're talking about here today. Is seeing spaces like this, ignored, neglected, underutilized, blight, sort of a haunting reminder of the glorious days of past in this great city, this city of gracious living. Picture yourself in a couple years, those lucky enough to live in this space, grabbing a cup of coffee, reading the newspaper, read some, not others, my recommendation. Taking a walk, moments to the Metro North Station. I mean, literally getting to your job from your home right here. That is phenomenal. But it's not impossible. That's my point. When I see spaces like this, my mind automatically goes to buildings that welcome people, make a new home for someone. And I'm supportive of housing that's affordable, but also market rate, and also luxury, because people need a chance to move up to make space for others. So that's what I've been so focused on. And today we break ground on what is known as a transit-oriented development. In some communities, those are scary words. But come to Yonkers, see what we're talking about here. And this is going to be good for the community to strengthen it. Community pride when they see that, yes, this corner came back to life and it means something and people call it home. But also, it'll help protect our environment because people won't need to drive to their jobs. I've always believed in the great potential of Yonkers. I've known this community a long time. I came from a community, we joke about the cranes being here. When I grew up in Buffalo, my children until they were 30s had never seen one because nobody was building. So that's the world I come from. I appreciate seeing cranes and I love construction vehicles. I love people who honk horns too. It means the city's alive. But it's got such assets. It has charm and great buildings and diversity and great restaurants, and also has visionary leaders. And that's what pulls me back time and time again to Yonkers. I love coming here, but I also love the civic spirit that is so alive and well. And yes, it is undoubtedly a great source of pride, but also influence for this community to have as one of your own the most powerful woman in our legislature, the most powerful leader in our legislature, Andrea Stewart Cousins. And I want to thank her for her friendship. I have seen firsthand the challenges of navigating through her conference, and she does it like no other. And I do look forward to continuing to deepen our relationship, our friendship, because when we're working together, that means we're working for New York. And we're both committed to doing that, so thank you. I also have such a deep relationship with our county executive, George Latimer. I've seen him through some of the toughest times. And he always rises up. And his open spirit, that this is a community that welcomes people and says, yes, we can take care of you, you have a home here. That is emblematic of the values we cherish as New Yorkers. And thank you, George Latimer and Ken Jenkins and your administration for living that every single day. Let's give them a round of applause. And a mayor and Mike Spano. My God, he's energetic. And he's always pointing me, well, once we got a great project over here, it's like, well, I've got another one down here, and another one over here, another one over here. But I would be the same way. I came out of local government. And when you have a chance to get the ear of people and get their eyes on a project, you can win them over. And you've been so successful in celebrating this community. We've had many conversations, but I do believe on your leadership, this has been a transformed community. So thank you again, Mayor Mike Spano. Nader Sayed, we have a great assembly member representing you in the legislature who also is a great champion for this community, always fighting to get the resources to come back home here. Also, I know that Shelley Mayer represents part of Yonkers, and she couldn't be here today, but we've been working very, very closely together. And then for my team, Ruth Ann Visnauskas, I want everyone to give her a huge round of applause. She is a superstar, and she travels this state with that sense of optimism. She sees, as I do, possibilities in neighborhoods like this and in blocks like this. And through her leadership, we are doing the building that was suppressed for so long. We are finding a path forward, and we will get the job done. We are committed to building tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of new housing units right here in the state of New York under the leadership of Ruth Ann Visnauskas. Let's give her yet another round of applause. And then you have to have the private sector visionaries. We can talk all we want about, yes, let's build more housing, but we're relying on partners, people who also love their communities so deeply, people who see the possibilities where others walk past it and say, maybe in a few decades we'll do something. I want to thank Rella Fogliano, the CEO and founder of McQuestion. This is not our first project together. We have been at so many ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings from the Bronx to Mount Vernon a couple of years ago, and I'll keep coming because I know it's quality projects. You're so proud of them, and I've talked to the people who've had the benefit of living in them, and they are joyful. They're so happy to have a beautiful home, and so let's give a round of applause to Rella and Joe Epicella. Joe, same, it's just that energy, and I wish I could bottle all that up and spread all over the state because you're such optimists. You're such believers in this community, and that's what has made the difference in a place like Yonkers. It's people like all the individuals here, and of course Paul Adler. He has been the broker of making dreams come true. That'll be your legacy, Paul. Giving people the dignity of a good home and a sense that they belong and that they matter. That's what these housing projects do. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Paul Adler. And consider the alternative. If we don't build more housing, if we keep the status quo, New Yorkers will suffer. They'll suffer directly. The cost of living is getting too high. That's the number one issue people talk about, is the high cost of living. And we can do something about it if we can take on the most expensive cost of living driver for them, that is their rent or their mortgages. Right there. We can add more housing stock. It's simple, supply and demand. You build more, the prices will come down. You have less, the prices go up. That's what New Yorkers are experiencing right now. And by building more on blocks like this, and next to the train station where it makes all the sense in the world, we can do this. But also opening up other communities and saying, don't be afraid of this, because this is where your children and your grandchildren can be raised. This is where our teachers and firefighters and police officers can live. This is where our healthcare workers can find a home near the hospital or nursing home they work. That's what we're talking about. Creating homes for people. And why that is so threatening, I don't understand. But we'll work with people. We'll figure it out. We'll get through it. And if we build more, they will come. But better yet, they'll stay. That's what I believe. So when I first became governor, we announced with the legislature a $25 billion affordable housing comprehensive plan to build 100,000 units in our state, and we're on track to hit that. And this July, I announced several executive actions to move this forward as well, offering incentives, also reducing some of the regulatory burdens. Think about this. There's so many projects that are stymied because there's so much red tape. And I spent time as a local official, elected official. I was town board. I was liaison to the planning board, to the zoning board, to the traffic safety board. So every project that wanted to go anywhere had to come through and be seen by me. So I know all the ways that communities can throw up hurdles and that state government regulations can be a barrier. And people sometimes just say, I'm out of here. I'm walking. This is just too much. We have to change that dynamic. We have to open up the process and make it easier for people to build because we need them. And also, I've directed my team to identify every single state-owned property that can be converted into new life. If I go past a train station on Metro North, Long Island Railroad in the city, and I see an empty parking lot that by day may have some vehicles in it, but at night looks like there's tumbleweed blowing through it, there's no life, I'm visualizing a 5-story building with first floor coffee shops and a restaurant, place to buy the newspaper. Then we can put some parking so you can double or triple the parking in a downtown area. And then you can put different levels of housing, affordable all the way up to luxury on the rooftop, and why not have a restaurant on the top? I see that every single day, and there's proof of it. But we need to open up this idea to others, those communities that are resistant, because this is the future. This is how we can keep New Yorkers right here and give them, as Paul mentioned, a home, because we're bringing the jobs. We're bringing thousands of jobs here all over our state. But if people can't find a place to live, they're going to Connecticut and they're going to New Jersey, because here's the flash, news flash. They're eating our lunch when it comes to building housing. They're building so much more. Every area, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston, double, triple the amount of housing in the suburban areas than we're doing right here in New York. So it's not going to work, my friends. We have to jumpstart the building of more housing. And in time, people will look back at us and say, we had the guts to do this, overcome barriers. But we did it together, and now look at us. Now look at New York. And that's what I'm committed to. I believe that good, affordable housing is a human right. I've said that all my life. My parents were involved in integrating white neighborhoods back in the 60s when I was a little kid. They were the founders of an organization locally called Housing Opportunities Made Equal. I believe in this to my core. And now as governor, to be in a position to do something about that, to open up our communities and give people homes, that's something I cherish. The opportunity to work with the people here, the people who believe in communities like Yonkers, and those communities all over the state that are looking for the same kind of enlightened leadership that we have right here. So thank you, everyone. Look forward to seeing not just this groundbreaking, but I love the ribbon cuttings even more. So invite me back, Rella. Thank you. Congratulations.